You know, I think of two great stories to me that were great about Roy Acuff. And one was, speaking of the ladies and him, you know, being so friendly with the girl on the screen there, you know, toward the last, Mr. Roy couldn't see very well. Everybody thought he was pretty much blind. And you know, they led him around a lot. And I happened to stop by his dressing room one evening, and we were just talking, and all of a sudden I saw his eyes go out the doorway, and there was a pretty blonde that walked by in a short dress, high-heeled shoes, and went by, and I said, "Oh, you know who that is? That's so-and-so." "Yes, and that's a pretty ankle bracelet she's got on her legs." You talk about that eyesight. He could see a whole lot better than we thought.
Vince, Roy Acuff inducted you into the Opry, didn't he?
Yeah, he did in '91, and I don't think he remembers it, but the first time I think I ever caught the wrath of Mr. Roy was we were doing something for the CMAs in the early '80s, and I was just part of a big cast of thousands out here, and like television does, it went on and on and on and on, and we were out here for several hours, and I just laid down and took a little nap. And he told Marty Stewart, he says, "Well, I've been here for a long time, but I believe this might be the first time I've seen anybody sleep on the stage of the Grand Ole Opry." But I have really sweet memories of Mr. Roy because he was the one that inducted me when I became a member in '91. But the most vivid memory I have is, for some reason, When I Call Your Name really spoke to him, and he really loved that song. And I have a picture at home of him, because he couldn't see so good, and he would stand like right here. He would stand right there as close as he could get. And there's a tear in his eye. And I have a picture of it, and it's just the neatest thing, getting to talk with him. You know, one day once again, we're doing something TV-wise and tons of downtime, which there always is. And he started telling me these really great stories of the past, of, you know, the traveling on the road in the 40s, and he was the boss in the band, and what they did, and what trouble they got into, and all this stuff that I'd never repeat. But my favorite thing that he told me, he says, "You know, son," he says, I could have been one of them motion picture stars. They really, Hollywood called me and wanted me to come out and make motion pictures." He said, "But," he says, "I didn't go because the Opry needed me." And it's really sweet, and it kind of had always hit home to me, and that's why I'm out here so much.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you know, Bill, I tell you, I always come by his dressing room, and that one night I was on his show. "Bill, who are you doing tonight?" I said, "Roy, I was thinking about doing Johnny Cash." He said, "No, you're not. I'll tell you what you're going to do. You're going to do me." I'll swear he pulled up a stool, got on it, had his microphone, and the people went crazy. And he just stood there, and I had to do him. And when I got off and walked back, I had to come back. He kept calling me back a couple times.
Mr. Roy, my brother Stephen, Rudy, and I, and Mr. Roy were doing a private corporate concert next door at the hotel. And this has been 15 years ago. And there was a young lady on the program, and I don't even know who it was for, some big car dealership or something, but we went over, it might have been on a night of the Opry or something. We went over there between shows. During the break. I don't really remember exactly what all was going on. But this young lady, I don't know where she was, but she had on this little gownless evening strap number, you know. A wide belt and a smile, yeah. And she had a tattoo of a butterfly strategically placed very delicately about right here. And she wanted to show it to me, so I looked, and Mr. Acuff, well, I thought, I was trying to do the Christian thing. Well, like I say, when the Lord saved me, just saved me, didn't ruin me anyway. So I went and got Mr. Acuff. And I said, "Mr. Roy," I said, I think you need to come see this. And I introduced him to this young lady, and I don't even know what she was doing on the show. She and somebody else had been with a band or something. So I said, and she has something she wants to show you. And he said, "All right, what is that? Tell me, all right, what is that?"
All right, what is that?
So that's what he said. And then and so the lady just kind of showed him the butterfly, and it wasn't really low. It was just kind of right in here where you could see it with a normal dress, even the one she had on. And he said, "Oh, sweetheart, do you have any more of them?"
Bill. Roy, something else about Roy Acuff that I don't know if you all know this, but you probably do. But Roy, we have a Sam's store. It's a big warehouse store here in Nashville, and Walmart stores and Kmart and Kroger's. Roy would go and stand at I saw him do this. If I'd been told, I thought, no, he wouldn't do that. But he loved it so much. He would go to Sam's store and stand out in front, and as people came in, would introduce himself. I'm Roy Acuff from the Grand Ole Opry. I'm glad to know you. He would do that at Walmart. I saw him at Kmart doing the same thing, and at Kroger in Hendersonville, Tennessee. There stands Roy Acuff at the front door of Kroger store, introducing himself to people and saying, I'm Roy Acuff from the Grand Ole Opry. Come and see us sometime. Yes, sir.
And that was after he ran for governor.
That was after he ran for governor, yeah. yeah. After he ran for governor.
One night, I was fortunate enough many times to be on Mr. Acuff's portion of the Opry, and he always loved Where No One Stands Alone. So no matter what I sang, he'd always have me come back and do Where No One Stands Alone. And one night I had on this long kind of peasant skirt of some sort and boots, but I had a belt on that was silver dollars, so all silver dollar belt. And so while I was singing Where No One Stands Alone, which is an inspirational song and everything, Mr. Acuff is standing right beside me, and he's counting the silver dollars. I mean, really, he says, 1, 2, 3, I mean, I never got through the song, and I didn't think he was going to quit counting, and I knew there were about 20-some silver dollars there. Anyway, I finally finished Where No One, and I started to leave the stage quickly, and he called me back, and he said, are those real silver dollars? And I said, well, I hope so, sir. And he said, well, you could buy a house with that. I just made my exit and thanked him. I thought, well, I'm going to get knocked in the head when I leave the Opry, but it's okay.
Bill, everybody wants to call me Jeannie. My name is not Jeannie, it is Jean. I broke everybody in Nashville from calling me Jeannie except Roy Acuff. I could never break him from calling me Jeannie.
You know, one of the greatest compliments that you could have was to be on Mr. Acuff's show, first of all, and have him introduce you, because he was perhaps one of the best MCs that I've ever seen in the whole business. I mean, for nearly 50 years, he's one of the best I've ever seen. And to be on his show was a great thing. But then if he liked a particular song that you did, he would stand right beside you and watch you through the whole show. And you know, after you get used to his doing this, why that's good. But the first time he does this, it's just frightening. I mean, it is to see standing on this circle, and then at the Ryman too, you know, to see Mr. Acuff, who is Grand Ole Opry, let's face it, and to see him standing there beside you, looking at you, and the first time he did that, I kind of would cut my eyes around to Bobby like that, and he didn't know if he should look at him or not look at him, and we just kind of stood there like statues and just stared straight ahead. But it was frightening and a great honor to be on Mr. Acuff's show. I'm very fortunate. We're very fortunate to have come along when we did, to have known him and become friends with him in first name basis and all that. And I'm really honored to have been at this place at this time.
You said he was a great MC, and he was great at introducing people, but the first time he ever introduced me, I only met him that night. I'd never met him before, and he came backstage and asked me my name and wanted to know what label I recorded for, and I said, Decca. And it was real loud back there, and he said, I never heard of it. And he was recording for Decca at the time. But then he went out on the stage and he introduced me. The great introduction I got from him was said, here's a young man that records for Jacob Records. He said, I've never heard of him, but maybe some of you have.
I worked at a local place here, like you're talking about, it always showing up everywhere. Well, I was over here at Nashville, well, not Nashville Palace, but the other place over there. And so he was right on the front row. Well, he always liked the old chunk of coal, but he called it old lump of coal. So he hollered for old lump of coal. And when I did it, he gave me just by himself. He popped up, gave me a standing ovation. And so did Roy Acuff. Everybody had to stand up right in the middle.
I wasn't there, but one night Brooke Shields was in town for some reason or another, and he was going to bring her out on stage to say hello, or whatever she was in town for, I don't know. But he really didn't know who she was. But he said, "This is Brooke Shields." Said, "I think it's a baseball player from California."
Hank Jr. was on one night, and this was at the time when the movie, was it Long Riders? Long Riders, is that the name of that movie that they wore those long white?
That's right.
Yeah.
Those dusters.
Yeah. Well, Junior was on Roy's show, and he came out with one of those dusters on. And I mean, this coat, and they'd given it to him. The guys from the movie had given him that, and he was proud of it.
110 degrees.
And, well, he came out, and Roy looked at him, and he just looked him up and down after he'd introduced him, "This is Hank Williams' son, Hank Williams Jr. Come out here, boy." And he looked at him and went up like that, and he said, "It's been a long time since anybody wore their raincoat on the stage of the Grand Ole Opry." And he said, and on top of that, I didn't know it was raining outside. Junior and I were pretty good pals. I was standing over the side, and he just looked over me and shook his head like that.
I think we need a song from Jeannie Shepard.
Jeannie Shepard.
Sing us one, Jeannie.
I slapped you. Lord, do I have to be the first one to start off? I just drove
we
in.
know you can do it.
Got in at 8 o'clock this morning.
You can do it.
Thanks. Let's try it, guys. If I can't hit it, we'll skip over it. Slow down a little. How many times have you heard someone say, if I had his money, I could do things my way? But little they know that it's so hard to find one rich man in 10 with a satisfied mind. Once I was waiting in fortunes and fame, everything that I dreamed for to get a start in life's game. But suddenly it happened that I lost every dime. But I'm richer by far with a satisfied mind. Money can't buy back your youth when you're old, or a friend when you're lonely, or a love that's grown cold. The wealthiest person is a pauper at times, compared to the man with a satisfied mind. When life has ended, my time has run out. My friends and my loved ones, I'll leave them, no doubt. But one thing for certain, when it comes my time, I'll leave this old world with a satisfied mind.
I was watching Elizabeth Cook and Tammy Cochran and Chalee Tennison. That's how it's done, right there.
Not that fast.
Tell me something about that song, because I never have known the story. You recorded it, you had a hit, Porter
I done
Wagner
that.
had a hit, and Red Foley, and you all three sang a different melody.
Yeah.
Sang the melody different. How
They
did that
sang
all
the
come
right
about?
one. I just sang it the way I felt it. And I didn't. I went up to the old KWTO studios in Springfield, Missouri, in the record library one day. I was just listening to songs. And I run onto this song, Joe Red Hayes. And I thought, golly. And the words just blew me away. Because if you can live your life and have a satisfied mind, you've done something. But anyway, I sang it then the next week or so on the Ozark Jubilee. And we all recorded for different labels. Porter was with RCA, I was with Capitol, and Red was with Decca. And they both come up to me and says, where did you get that song? And I told them. And they said, are you going to record it? And I said, yes, I am. At that time, I had to go to California to do all my recording because they didn't think they could do it in Nashville. But anyway, they said that they wanted to record it. And I said, well, I don't care. You know, I said, if we do, let's just make a deal. We'll all have around the same release date. Well, theirs was out a good 3 weeks before mine got out. But I outsold them.
Did the three of you ever get together on the Jubilee and sing it together?
I don't think so. Because I think I sang it maybe once with Red.
I had recorded The One You Slip Around With, which was a top 10 in Billboard, my very first one.
I sent her a
Gene,
blanket.
Gene covered me on Capitol. Well, you know, the first time I met Gene, she said, well, I can't repeat everything she said, but she did say that she said, well, I outsold you. I said, but I got the glory. So mine was in the charts, but
I sent you a nice blanket.
I know, and I appreciate it. I don't know what happened to it, but I appreciate it. But she got the money because Challenge, you know, they didn't have a distributor one. Well, of course she outsold me. She sold two.
Some of the greatest records in the world were the things you done on Challenge with Wynn Stewart.
Yeah, I love those. Yeah.
Yeah. So she covered you and then sent you a blanket to cover up with. You trying to tell her something?
Sent me a blanket. One of my best friends.
The Diamond Rio guys are with us for the first time on our family reunion. Marty Rowe and Jim Johnson and Dana Williams. Y'all just feel free to jump in. Now, don't sit back there and be so quiet.
We've told every story we know.
Dana, aren't you kin to Sonny and Bobby Osborne?
Yeah, I am. Most of the time they don't claim me, but I claim them.
All you gotta do is get a shot of them two right there together real close and wait a minute.
Oh, don't do that. See what I have to live
People
with?
have been hurt for less than that.
I know.
Dana, did you ever play bluegrass? Or
I did actually. My cousin and I, Bobby's boy Wynn, when we were, I guess it's what got me started. Probably about 13 years old.
The Nashville Cousins.
Yeah, we started a little group in his. In Bobby's recording studio there in his house. And we started at that age trying to, we were on the edge though because we had a drummer. so we were, but hey man, at that time, so did they, so it was okay.
Luckily we were gone most of the time at that period, and we didn't hear it. Not that we didn't have to hear it, we didn't hear it. No, we didn't know what was going on.
No, you didn't.
Thank you, Lord.
I got one Roy Acuff story and one Grandpa Jones story that in our short little run here at the Opry that we've been witness to. Actually, when I worked at Opryland way back in the 80s, we were, it was before the band had started, I got a chance to work with Mr. Roy and Minnie Pearl at the hotel a lot. I did a show called Country Music USA, and it was my first introduction to, you know, professional music anyway. They would come and do their particular part. We had somebody who played their role, but at the hotel they would actually come out and work those shows. And just to watch Roy and Minnie work together, and then to watch and listen to what they had to say about to us kids at the time, you know, about work ethic. And I remember Miss Minnie told a story one time about how she had was was up for the role in Oklahoma, I believe, was the play, and she was doing a show somewhere, and she felt that there wasn't very many people out in the audience, and she didn't apparently do as good a performance as she thought she could have, maybe, or whatever. She discounted it, and she told me that the man that was casting that show was in that audience, and that she missed out on that role. And she said from that day forward, he says, I don't care if there's one person or 100,000. I do, the best thing. And her and Roy did that, definitely. I mean, I've been in some situations, we all have, where the show's not what you would hope it to be necessarily, but, as Jimmy Olander, our guitar player, says, those are the people that did show up.
That's right. Ain't their fault the others didn't come.
Yeah.
How about
I'm sorry. Grandpa Jones had especially. I mean, y'all had the good fortune of getting to know him over time, whatever. It was a short period of time that we got a chance to really get to know him a little bit, and he had a little bit of a tough time hearing, and then at the same time had a little bit of a tough time, remembering some of the, our name and stuff, so he wouldn't get the title, the name of the group just right. And the one time we was standing there next to us as we're fixing to go on, everybody's out here, but we're on during commercial, and he keeps going, now say it to me again, say it to me again. I said, Diamond Rio, and I continue to say it to him. He goes, okay, I know I'm going to forget it. And that's what he said, and then he gets out there, and as soon as they come on, he goes, here they are, the Diamond Trio.
Bill, there's a little story. Grandpa Jones hated for somebody to come up here and say, do you remember me? That would hack him off. And he'd say, no. Every time I was on his show, I always walked up to him and I says, do you remember me? And I promise you, he never, ever forgot my name.
Well, could we get a song out of the Diamond Trio?
Yeah, really. We don't know, man. This song is actually our latest single, and called One More Day. And I'll tell you, we've had an actually fellow that used to work for you, Bobby Tomlin, was a co-writer on it with Stephen Dale Jones, and I know that he's not working for you anymore. Is that correct?
He's out spending all the money you made him.
That's exactly right. Bless his heart. But hopefully we can get this right with the band. We've been working on it. But this song, I have to say, we've heard so many stories as a musician growing up, actually just a kid on a tractor. I don't know about these two guys, but I thought, I might just change the world with my music, someday or whatever, and dreamed of all that. And we all know that the reality's not, just a little shy of that sometimes. But this particular song just really has satisfied all the dreams that I ever had about what you could do with your music and the talent that God has given us all. And I like to say thanks to the folks watching out there that appreciate the ability to get a chance to do this every now and then and touch people's lives like this song has.
Last night I had a crazy dream. Wish was granted just for me. It could be for anything. I didn't ask for money or a mansion in Malibu. I simply wished for one more day with you. One more day, one more time, one more sunset, maybe I'd be satisfied. But then again, I know what it would do. Leave me wishing still for one more day with you. First thing I do is pray for time to crawl. I'd unplug the telephone, keep the TV off. I'd argue every second, say a million I love you. That's what I do, but one more day with you. One more day, one more time, one more sunset, maybe I'd be satisfied. But then again, I know what it would do. Leave me wishing still for one more day with you. One more day, one more time, one more sunset, maybe I'd be satisfied. But then again, I know what it would do. Leave me wishing still for one more day. Leave me wishing still for one more day. Leave me wishing still for one more day with you. Just one more day.
How about it for that band back there?
One thing I do want to say that as we've done this song so many times over the past year or so, there's so many memories that come to me from childhood and as far as being in this music business and what I've seen, what I've been exposed to because of these two guys right here in front of me. And I can remember, and I don't know, this comes to me all the time when we're doing this, but we used to go, when I was very young, we used to go to their shows all the time, you know, the family, my folks and my grandparents, and we'd all pile up and go to shows and see them. And every time that we go see them, my grandfather, Robert Osborne, I might add, he would, every time we go see them, no matter where we were sitting, he would, here I am, little bitty kid, and he would send me up to the front of the stage and pull on Bobby's pant leg and say, go up there and tell Uncle Bobby to do Kentucky. Do Kentucky. And I go up there and yank on his pant legs, just, and I'm thinking now, man, if somebody comes up and yanks on my pants, I'm going to, look, let me alone, boy.
Yeah. And if you knew the thought, every time you did that, if you only knew the thought that was going through my head.
Well, you knew who sent me.
You know, if you'd get a little closer to me, I could kick and he'd get you right back.
You wouldn't have done that because Granny would have had your hide.
No. We were fortunate to have the parents that we do, Bobby and I, and Dana especially is fortunate to have them as grandparents because they're wonderful people. And boy, I can't say enough. But how about that Diamond Trio? My goodness. At this time of day, to do that, what they did, whoa.
I'm sitting next to a guy that knows a little bit about trio singing and harmony singing, Larry Gatlin. And Larry was over here. You guys couldn't hear him, but I could. Under his breath, he was going, oh, wow. Yeah.
Well, I have to say, I mean, this is an honor for me, and we've not really, I know your brother, Steve, actually a little better, and we've done some things together, but my hero growing up was Larry Gatlin and the Gatlin Brothers.
He was mine, too.
Yeah, and I don't, we're not that far away from age, but
I'm greatly honored. You boys sing great harmony. You know, we've always heard it that people say that nobody sings harmony like brothers. And maybe that's true, kind of, but if you're brothers in the spirit and you got your heart, all together and the music, and it means the same thing to you.
They captured it.
Yeah, they captured it. They really did. It was great. I'm honored. God bless it. When I sing my song after a while, y'all sing some harmony because my two scoundrel brothers ain't here.
Where are they?
I don't know, Bill. It ain't my day to watch them.
My job to watch them.
It is not my day. It's your day, Billy. Come on.
Last time I saw Larry Gatlin, I was sitting in the audience, and you were playing a Civil War soldier in a play, and it was great. It was really good.
Thank you very kindly. Frank Wildhorn, a great composer, was his 15-year-old boy came to him and said, "Dad, tell me about this Civil War thing." They studied it for about 30 minutes in school, and it kind of piqued the kid's interest. And Frank, as a good father would do, tried to explain to him the racial, political, economic, all the ramifications of this greatest of American tragedies and greatest of American, things that give us hope for freedom and for all the things that we stand for. And all of a sudden, Frank realized that it got his mind to going, and he called some folks, and they got together and wrote an incredible piece of theater called The Civil War. They did it in Houston. I was not part of that. They did it in New York, and it didn't really work because they tried to New Yorkize something that started in Houston, Texas, and it didn't work. But to the producer's credit, even though it was a flop on Broadway, only did 60 or 70 shows, they knew they had something that was real and it needed to be seen out here in the hinterlands. And they called me, and actually they made me an offer I couldn't understand, so I took it. and I traveled with that show. Vince, you and Amy came to see the Civil War. B.B. Winans was in it for a while. Some great singers, very passionate, wonderful music. I did it 2 6-month periods. One of the great opportunities of my life. I'm grateful for it, and it was just a wonderful. And thank you. I remember you came back and said hello that night at T-Pack.
Yeah. How about a song from Larry Gatlin, even though the brothers aren't here?
How do we do this?
Any way you want to.
Do we have some harmony singers back here? I'll give you a G chord, is that it? And I'll give us a 1, 2, 3, fellas. Y'all ready? All right. 1. She's a broken lady. Everybody. Waiting to be mended like a pottered mend, a broken vase. Broken lady, waiting to be mended and have what's left of the pieces put back in place. You may have to do the high note dance. Her love was like a fortress round the man she would have died for, to take care of all he needed. But the lady's fortress slowly turned into a prison, and the warning signs he gave she never heeded. Come on, son, I need a little man. She vowed every morning that what God joined together, no one else in the world could put apart. I met Bobby, y'all know who you are. And then the walls came tumbling to the ground. Her world came crashing down around her heart. Her heart. Oh, now she's a broken lady, waiting to be mended like a pottered vase, a broken vase. Broken lady,
new act is born. Larry Gatlin and the Diamond Trio.
They're pretty expensive.
Hey, now, tell me the story. Have the Gatlin brothers retired? What
We
is your
don't
story?
know, Lord God. We don't.
They had known for years.
You know, about 10 years ago, we decided it's time to love each other from afar. You know what I mean? I don't mean a campfire, I mean afar.
Yeah, there's a song.
No, we still love each other. We're each other's best friends. We just, as it happens in this business sometimes when the records don't sell as much and it takes more days to do, to make less and less money. And it never was just about the money. Like the old boy said, money's not the most important thing in the world, but it's a darn close second to oxygen. You know what I'm saying? But we just decided to do some other things. I went to New York and did a Broadway musical. We went down to, I did the Will Rogers Follies in New York. We went to Myrtle Beach and did a little theater, did some other things. And over the last 10 years, we really, for the first time this past week in 10 years that we've done a road date together, what has happened, while not exactly a popular groundswell, there have been some friends and neighbors out there that kind of wanted to hear us sing again. We're very grateful for that. We're going to go do a few shows. We think we can stand each other about 40, 50 days a year. I'll get my new bunch. I'll go sing harmony to these guys.
How about coming here? and
We
standing
need to
on that
come here.
circle and sing at the
Absolutely.
Opry
Thank you.
Saloon?
We have not been here in a while. I love this place. We honor and revere what this place means to us. It was a great honor that evening in 1975, 1976 when we were inducted into this wonderful organization. I live in Austin. Steve still lives here in Brentwood. Rudy lives in Dallas. And we've kind of gotten busy, and to get too busy to come and sing at this place, you're just too damn busy. So forgive us for not being here. We'll come back.
Jan, on the sheet I've got sitting next to me now, we've just heard Diamond Rio and Larry Gatlin in the Great Harmony, and it says Bill and Jan. I'm going to defer and let it just be Jan.
I think using what little brain I have left, we really should just talk. Can't we do a duet where we both recite? You think I'm going to follow that? You crazy?
That's what I was thinking. With no way we can match that kind of harmony.
We can do Bill and Jan or Jan and Bill.
Did we ever decide which it was?
I don't know. I think
Y'all
it was.
don't know which one's which?
No,
You're Bill.
come
You're Bill.
No, when we made our last album together, she wanted top billing, and so did I. So we called the album Bill and Jan,
Or Jan.
and in parentheses, or Jan and Bill.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Well, we could do it
Let's
if
do
the Carolies will help.
They will
A
help.
lot
I
of
know
help.
they're good.
A lot of help.
And I took reciting lessons from you. Talking lessons.
Really? Did you?
Yes, I did.
Oh, okay.
I did, and I do it with sincerity and humility.
One of the most humiliating things I've ever seen. Okay, this was the first record that we did any of that talking back and forth on, and it was the record where when Jan and I used to do this, people were totally convinced that we were married to each other,
Right.
or if not, we were fooling around with each other.
Yeah. Well,
Don't do that.
Shut
You
up,
might get a legend
Shut
if
up,
you turn
Jan.
around.
Say yeah.
I know.
Start the song, Mike. We're
I've
getting
done
in
that
deeper and
before
deeper.
wrong.
You think
Right.
we ought to stand close
I
to each
think-
other since we're going to
I
do
think
this together,
Should be sincere.
even if we have to fake it?
For loving you, for needing you, but most of all, for loving you,
For loving you. My life is so much richer. You've given me so much to live for, and I never really lived before loving you.
And for loving you, my faith is a little stronger. For a world that could give you to me couldn't be as bad as it's made out to be. There was good there I just could never see before loving you.
Oh, you lie so good.
for loving you, for needing you, but most of all, for loving you.
lot stronger. For there's a strength that comes from knowing you need to give of yourself. And darling, I gave so much of myself loving you.
And now I'm losing you. And I'm a sadder, lonelier man than I ever thought any man could be. But even in my loneliness, even as I walk the haunting trail of memory, even for all the pain that I'm feeling right now, never once will I ever regret having had the chance of loving you.
Back to the drawing board.
I don't know how many of y'all, the younger ones among us, have ever heard the story, but there's a classic story about that song. You notice how Jan's kind of got her hair combed down just a little bit. We used to have to do that song. Larry, you were working with your brothers. You never had to go through this exactly, but when we would do those kinds of songs, we tried to look each other in the eye. And we couldn't look each other in the eye without laughing because we were such good friends. It was so funny to be standing there saying those kinds of things back and forth. So I picked out a spot on Jan's forehead. And instead of looking in her eye, I would look at her forehead. And she would stand there under her breath and say, "Look me in the eye. Look me in the eye." Because it'll drive you crazy, somebody to look at your forehead all the time.
You know, you're talking to someone and you're looking at the forehead and I kept trying to stand up taller, but it didn't work.
We're on a long Canadian tour. For 30 days, she's been telling me every night, "Look me in the eye," and I never would. The day of the last concert on the tour, she went to the store and bought a Mad magazine, cut out a big bloodshot eye. The ugliest thing you ever saw, glued it to her forehead and combed her bangs down over it. So that night, you know the story, we got on the stage and I start looking at her forehead and she reaches up very slowly, moves the bangs out of the way and says, "I said, look me in the eye."
Bill.
He fell to the floor, literally, and I left the stage. I thought I was probably going to have to walk home.
You should have
But he
left
looked me in
town.
the eye.
Well,
He looked me in the eye.
Bill, George Morgan and Marion Worth used to sing duets together. And Marion couldn't remember her name. She couldn't remember, I don't mean that bad. She couldn't remember the words to a song. She just couldn't do it. And George would hold the mic up, and underneath the mic would be the words that she's supposed to sing to the song. And so they got on the Opry one night. I'm not going to tell you exactly the words that he had written on his paper.
They weren't the words to the song.
And George, I don't know if, I guess everybody knows, George was the sweetest man I have ever known and one of the best friends I ever had.
But a practical joker.
But a practical joker, A. He got an A for that. And he had written on this note, "You dummy." That's the way I'll say it here. you dummy. If you think I'm going to tell you the words of this song, you're crazy. And down the bottom he said, "You're on your own." Marion, he held it up in her face, and you could just see her face turn purple. Boy, when she got off, she absolutely railroaded him. And he just laughing, look at her laughing. Oh, boy.
Bill, when you mentioned George Morgan, he was a practical joker from the word go. But he also, there were times when he was just, regular guy, and when we lived in Madison, and George and Anna Morgan lived 2 doors from us. They're on Graycroft in Madison. And they had some little Chihuahua dogs. They were everywhere. I think they had, 3, 6, whatever. They multiplied while you were waiting, But anyway, we went over there for dinner one night, when Harlan and I were married. And we went over there for dinner. First time I ever tasted fried dill pickles. But anyway, it's pretty good. And Harlan was sitting there telling this long story about something to George. and one of those little chihuahuas came up, and Harlan had his legs crossed. And the chihuahua, needless to say, relieved himself on Harlan's foot. And Harlan stopped right in the middle and was looking down, watching the chihuahua. Well, we all, needless to say, broke up, but George fell in the floor. He fell in the floor, rolled in the floor. The story never got ended, and this one may not either. But George went to the bedroom and got Harlan an extra pair of socks, and Harlan made an excuse right away to leave.
We played the Opry. This must have been somewhere around 65, and George was on right before me, and 2 or 3 numbers before me. And when I got through and got down in the alley in the summertime, well, George Morgan and George McCormick had Cowboy Jr. Cornered down there, teaching him how to hypnotize.
Tell the story. Go, baby, go.
And
these younger people who Big Junior
Big Junior. Big Junior
that.
was about 6'3", weighed about 230, 40 pounds, and just all muscle.
And a regular backstage.
At a regular, he was around there all the time, but he was just a little slow. He had the mind of about a 12, 13-year-old, but a pleasant person until you got him riled. And so when I got down there, George McCormick was clucking like a chicken, barking like a dog, and then George Morgan said, "When I count to 3, Cowboy Jr., and say it's time to wake up," well, he's going to wake up. So he said, "Okay, Cowboy Jr., it's your time to hypnotize him." He said, "What am I supposed to do?" And that's how he talked. And so when he said hocus pocus, gentlemen rocus, and all that stuff. And so George Morgan bent his eyes and lit up like this. And so he made him cluck like a chicken and bark like a dog. And he said, "Okay, George, when I count 3 and snap my fingers." He said, "You don't wake up." And so he counted 3 and snapped his fingers, and George didn't wake up. And he says, McCormick said, "George, what am I doing wrong? It's something happening. I don't know what to do." So he said, "Okay, do it again." So he counted 3 and snapped his fingers. George didn't wake up. By this time, he's getting frustrated and he's getting mad. He said, "Okay, dadgummit, George." He said, "Don't I snap my fingers and count to 3 this time? You don't wake up." So he counted 1, 2, 3, and he snapped his fingers and he slapped George just hard as he could. Knocked George about 4 foot over into the wall of the Opry House. George got up, his whole face was red. I'm telling you, we all just we got down and beat the ground. That's one time his joke backfired.
He woke up.
He woke up.
When I say hokum pokum, he wake up. Chalee Tennison, do the young artists in the business today, do you guys play jokes on each other? And
Yeah, but first, before I say anything about that, I'm really honored to be one of the youngins. What do y'all think? To be here today, y'all said the young folks, so I'm thinking, oh, well, I guess that's us. But yeah, we play a few pranks, but not any that we can mention. I'll wait till I'm a little older, and then we'll have these stories.
Maybe the women don't. The women don't.
Well, we don't, because you guys are usually the ones that do the pranks on us.
No, I've never played a prank on you.
Because we haven't been out there together yet.
Enough, yeah.
well, it can happen right here.
Yeah.
I've heard about you.
You don't know. When you get up from that chair, you're going to have problems.
Well, maybe I'll just stay here.
No. We was out on the road, and my drummer did harmonies with us, and I have a different drummer now, but and this may be why. But we took his microphone. We're all hunters, every one of us. And we took his microphone cap and soaked it in sardine juice, really, really good. And he always started with his mic. He had it on a boom, and it was always way out here. And we kicked that first song out, and it came time for harmonies. He's playing. He grabbed that mic, pulled it up, and threw the mic back out. And he looked at me and said, "I'm not singing till you give me another mic." And he didn't. We were changing microphones in the middle of the show.
Elizabeth, Blake, Daryl, Tammy, and any of you guys, y'all pull that stuff on each other out there?
The stories I hear about Daryl is that he pulls good jokes on himself when he gets on stage. I played a show with him in was it Charlotte? Is that where we were at? And you know, I don't know how it was when you guys were out on the road, but you know, we're in and out, and I don't ever get to see anybody. So I don't ever get to. If I ever get the chance, I'm pulling a good one on Daryl though, because he is a lowlife, and he's got it coming.
I've had nicer people call me worse. We pride ourselves in pulling a few jokes now and then. The most recent thing that I can remember is our steel guitar player. He's a pretty intense guy, you know, and we do this one song where we let everybody solo. And I've got a few smokers in the band, and I ask, you know, that they don't smoke on stage. So sometimes while other people are doing their solos, they'll disappear behind the set. And I kind of looked around and noticed a few of them weren't there, and I thought, So I slipped over to Eddie's steel and got his bar, stuck it in my back pocket. Went back to the mic, you know, and they filtered back onto the stage as other people were playing their solos, and it came time for him. And I would give him a really big build-up, you know, and I said, now, my steel guitar player, I said, give it to him right between the eyes, and he goes, and there's a big old, like, 40-quart garbage can sitting right beside him, and I don't know why, but the first thing he did was jump up and look at the garbage can. And he said, afterwards when we were talking about it, he said, all I could think of is I got excited and threw it in the garbage can.
Chalee, we could use a good song from you. You're a great young country singer.
Well, thank you, Bill. I guess these guys know it. I said if y'all could just get some musicians back here, we might could play a little bit. This was kind of, when this song came out, I was competing against Diamond Rio. This is nothing against y'all or anything, but I released this song, and they released One More Day at the same time. So at the same time that they were climbing up. Of course, you guys are Diamond Trio and all. Y'all are known a lot more than Shirley Tomlinson. Talk about names being mispronounced. But no, I was really glad that theirs, you know, of course, went to number one. And mine stayed down there and, you know, stagnant. But I got some great stories, so, and that's why I do this music, is because of the stories and the things that come back to me, because, like you were saying, if it was about money, I'd be hightailing it back to Texas, too. So let's just go back. Y'all can sing harmony with me, too, if you want to. Youngins. She was waiting tables in a diner off of Highway 41, on his way to Indiana on another midnight run. So they talked about the weather, and the next thing that you know, the hours flew by like minutes, and it was time he had to go. On a rainy highway, halfway out of town, a voice inside his heart said, turn those 18 wheels around and go back. You got somebody waiting. Go back, that's where you need to be right now. There's nothing in this world more important than that, so go back. They settled down in a little house in the spring of '92, and she quit her job at the diner with the baby almost due. But those early years weren't easy, and they had bills to pay. So he said, you know, I hate to leave you, but I'll be back by Saturday. 10 miles out of Tulsa, his boss came on his radio, said if you want to see your brand new daughter, you better drop that load and go back. You got somebody waiting. sirens, they pulled his rig out of the snow and rushed to see his family. Somehow he lost control, though the doctors tried to save him. He slipped into the light, and then he heard the angels whisper, now is not your time. Go back, you got somebody waiting. Go back, that's where you need to be right now. There's nothing in this world more important than that. So go back. Go back. Go back. Go back. Thank you. Vince Gill told me one time, he said if that would have been bluegrass, he would have died. Bluegrass, that would have been, but he lived. That was written by a cancer survivor, so that's why.
Do a lot of people get your name messed up? Chalee is an unusual name. Chalee Tennison.
Shirley Tomlinson. But I love it when somebody like George Jones or Jimmy Dickens mispronounces. We were in San Francisco, and George Jones and I were label mates in the beginning in Asylum Records, and George is always Chalee, you know, how you doing? And we're always talking, but George is just like me, you know, when it comes time to singing, we get really nervous. And it's a good thing we even get through the show, you know, remembering words. But George has always said that he needs a monitor out there to remember his words. So he's always, forgive me if I forget your name before I go on there. I'm going to ask for forgiveness now. So he gets out there and he, ladies and gentlemen, this is my label mate, and I'm really proud to introduce her. And he looks over at Ron Gaddis and says, what's her name again? Shirley Tomlinson. I told him if anybody's going to mispronounce my name in all the world, I'd rather it be George Jones.
There you go. There you go. Anybody ever mispronounce Stonewall Jackson?
I've not had that problem.
Can you ever call you Andrew Jackson?
Yeah, what they do, they always try to look me up in the phone book, and they can't find it, so that makes them remember. You won't find it nowhere. I was named after a guy's nickname, so there's nobody's normal name. That's my real name. And I wanted to change it when I come here, because I said people will give me a hard time over it. You know, I had more fights and more scrapes when I was in school over that name. You know how kids are, you know. And are you hard-headed or what? You know, what a name like Stonewall. Charlie Leuven called me Brick Fence. called my son Turk Brick Fence Jr.
Well, I think people, once they hear your name, they don't forget it.
Yeah, that's what they told me at Opry. I was going to use Stoney or Jack or something, you know. But they said that's a big part of the game, getting them to remember your name. And so I listened. That's one thing I could do. I could listen to the older people, and that was a great thing for me. Mr. Roy Acuff and Ernest Tubb. Ernest Tubb took me on the road with him. His wife heard me when I first came in. I just had some old khaki pants when I came in. I auditioned. It was all a surprise to me when I came here. So I was on the Opry the next day. I was on the Opry in 16 hours, and I slept 8 of them, you know. And so it's just one of those things. I just happened to run into the first guy that I run into was the guy that takes tapes and things down at Acuff Rose. And so he must have went straight to West Rose with my tape and played it to him, because he called me back at the motel across the street just right away. He said, I'm West Rose, and you're who? Yeah, I'm West Rose across the street with Acuff Road. And he said, seemed like I can hear a little something on that tape. And he always was real lighthearted and joking, you know. And he said, I seem like I can hear something, but I can't quite put my finger on it. But I got some friends down at the Opry, and if you'd like to audition, maybe I can get you a spot down there, okay? Well, what he meant, he told me later, was to get me a spot on the Grand Ole Opry, and that would cost some talk, and maybe I could have a better chance of maybe placing some songs. And I came down not knowing any better, you know, and I sang Don't Be Angry and some things that I brought up here with me. and they'd signed me that day, and I went across. I went just right down the. So I was getting everything done. You know, I tried to do quick as I could. You know, I went right across to John Kelly's office, have a little jam, say a little guitar pull, and met the girl I married. Her her girlfriend worked for him. She called him, and it called her, and so she came up on her dinner hour, and I met her. I didn't think anything about it, but I met her brothers, and I was needing meals at that time, and they offered me a home cooked meal out of their house in the country. I didn't know who they were, and so I went out there with them, and so she was there. And then I went out there with them a couple of times, and so we got to go into movie together. We just ride around in the car, sit out on the creek, and just talk half the night, you know, so with our brothers, and we just become real good friends. And so we got to going together, and so I met the girl that I married. The first day I was actually all, because I got here about dark. I picked up a couple of girls. I was a little like Mr. Roy Acuff, you know. There was a couple of beautiful girls up in the hills here as I was coming in on 41 South.
Tell it all, Stonewall.
And I picked those two girls up and brought them into town where I checked in there, you know, and then they went on into town.
Brought 'em right to where you checked in.
Stonewall, I think what we need to do, and especially with all this group right here, you got a great chorus. I think we need a song.
You think I can get Gene to hold my guitar? I bring it. If you notice, I got my name on the neck.
But before he sings, you are the reason that all these kids out in America think that it's easy to come to Nashville and everything's going to happen overnight. It's your fault.
I'll tell you what, the Grand Ole Opry management, they have had to eat that so much because, see, everybody say, oh, please put me on the Grand Ole. Oh, I want on the Grand Ole Opry so bad. They scared me to death when they put me on the Grand Ole Opry. I got on my knees was shaking up and down so till I couldn't hardly stand on stage. Because I've got pictures of it where I just emptied my cotton sack and got in that pickup truck and drove up here. And I had $300 on me, and it lasted about 30 minutes.
Well, picking up them two girls, I bet you was tired.
And that's where the $300 went.
They just handed me a note and said we're about to run out of tape, so sing your song.
Oh, okay, so I'm right. You notice I don't talk much. Waterloo, 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 where will you meet your Waterloo? Everybody has to stay, everybody has to pay, everybody has to meet his Waterloo. Now old Adam was the first in the history with an apple. He was tempted and deceived just for spite. The devil made him take a bite, and that's where old Adam met his Waterloo. Waterloo, 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 where will you meet your Waterloo? Every puppy has its day, everybody has to pay, everybody has to meet his Waterloo. Little General Napoleon of France tried to conquer the world, but he lost his chance. Well, he met defeat on his Bonaparte's retreat, and that's when Napoleon met his Waterloo too. Waterloo, 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 where will you meet your Waterloo? Everybody has its day, everybody has to pay, everybody has to meet his Waterloo. Now, fella, his darling proved untrue, took her life. Oh, but he lost his too. Well, now he swings where the little birdies sing, and that's where Tom Dooley met his Waterloo. Waterloo, 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 where will you meet your Waterloo? Every puppy has its day, everybody has to pay, everybody has to meet his Waterloo, and me and you too, but maybe not tonight. Poor boy. 1, 2. Thank y'all.